The new nanny showed up every single day with a bag in her hand, a bag she never left by the door, never put down for weeks. Nobody asked anything, until the day Ryan Callahan discovered what was inside. He raised his voice. "Get out of my house, and don't ever come back." But what nobody knew is that bag was hiding a secret that would force them both to face what hurt them most. Greenwich, Connecticut. One of those towns where the lawns are always perfect, and the houses look like catalog pages, and the children have everything except what they actually need. Ryan Callahan was 39 years old, CEO of Callahan Capital Group, a wealth management firm his grandfather had built from scratch, and that Ryan had turned into one of the most respected names on the East Coast. He was the kind of man who walked into a room, and the room changed, not because of charisma, because of something colder than that, a quiet that surrounded him like walls, the kind of quiet that belongs to someone who has decided never to feel again. He had a son, Noah, 7 years old, green eyes, dark blonde hair, a face so much like his mother's that Ryan sometimes had to look away, because looking at Noah meant seeing Claire, and seeing Claire hurt in a way that no board meeting, no quarterly report, no signed contract could make disappear. Claire had died 2 years before, not from illness, not from an accident, from a bullet that was never meant for her. They were leaving a restaurant downtown, a regular Friday night. Ryan was carrying Noah in his arms. The boy was 5 and had fallen asleep on his shoulder. Claire was a step ahead, reaching into her bag for the car keys. It happened on the sidewalk. A man came up fast from behind. No warning. He wanted her bag, her phone, her keys. Ryan tried to react. He should not have done that. The shot was quick and clean, and by the time they reached the hospital, there was nothing left to do. Claire Callahan died that night, 35 years old, with a laugh that filled any room she walked into, with a habit of singing in the kitchen every single morning, like it was the most natural thing in the world. And Ryan, even though his heart kept beating, also died a little that night. What remained was a man who decided that love was a weakness, that dreams were traps. That life was brutal, and the only way to protect his son was to teach him that from the beginning, even if that meant dimming his light. Noah was not a happy child, since the only life he could remember, the one that began at age 5 when his world split in two, he had learned not to laugh too much, not to ask for too much, not to hope for too much. His bedroom was full of expensive things, a top-of-the-line gaming setup, robotics kits still in the box, signed sports memorabilia on the shelves, everything money could buy, everything except what he actually wanted. Once, Noah had been kicking a deflated soccer ball around the backyard just to pass the time. The previous nanny, a warm woman named Margaret, had seen him and dug an old ball out of her car trunk. Noah had played like that ball was the most valuable thing he had ever touched. He ran, he tripped, he got back up. And when he walked in that afternoon with mud on his jeans and light in his eyes, he told his dad, "Dad, I want to be a soccer player. Someday I'm going to play in the World Cup." Ryan looked at him, without smiling. "Don't fill your head with things that aren't going to happen, Noah. Life isn't a fairy tale." Noah looked down. "But Dad, we're done talking about this." And Margaret was let go the following week, because according to Ryan, her job was to take care of the boy, not plant impossible dreams in his head. Noah stopped talking about soccer. He stopped talking about most things. He became quiet in a way that was unsettling, not the quiet of a child who is thinking, the quiet of a child who has learned that it is safer to say nothing. Ava Mitchell arrived on a Tuesday morning, 28 years old, auburn hair pulled back in a simple clip, jeans and a clean blouse, nothing fancy, and a smile that seemed genuinely unaware of how heavy the world could be. Ryan met with her in his home office. He looked her over once, quickly, with that characteristic coldness of his. Ava held his gaze. That surprised him. He didn't show it. "Miss Mitchell, I'll be direct." She nodded. "My son has been through difficult things. He doesn't need someone filling his head with fantasies. He doesn't need a friend. He needs structure, consistency, and stability." A pause. "Don't give him false hope." He looked at her steadily. "And you'll keep your job. Do it, and you're gone immediately." Ava held his gaze. "Understood, Mr. Callahan." Ryan nodded and gestured toward the door. The interview was over. Ava walked out of the office and in the hallway let out a slow breath. Then she looked toward the yard, through the large window in the living room, she saw Noah, sitting on the grass, alone, arms folded over his knees, staring at some fixed point on the ground. A 7-year-old boy, alone in a massive yard, in a silence that had no business belonging to a child his age. Ava felt something move in her chest, something she couldn't name yet, but that didn't go away. The first days were hard. Ava tried everything. "Good morning, Noah. Did you sleep okay?" Silence. "Want some pancakes? I can make them with blueberries and chocolate chips." "I'm not hungry. Want to play something after school?" "No, cold, flat, closed off, just like his father." But Ava was not the kind of person who gave up easily. She knew what it was to lose someone. She knew what it was to find yourself alone overnight, with a world that keeps moving even though you feel like everything has stopped. Her dad had died 8 months ago. Pancreatic cancer. He had fought for 2 years and she had fought right alongside him. She had sold her car. She had taken out loans. She had signed things she shouldn't have signed, just so her dad could have the best treatment possible. She talked to him at night when he could no longer answer well. She sang the same songs he used to sing to her when she was little. She held his hand and pretended she was never going to let go, but she had to let go. And he left, and she was alone. No family left, no savings, 3 months behind on rent, and a debt at the bank that kept her awake every night. $42,000. 2 maxed-out credit cards, a landlord who had already sent the 3rd notice. This job, it was not just a job. It was the only thing standing between her and the street. But when she looked at Noah, something larger than fear told her that boy needed her, and that she needed him too. Almost 2 weeks after she arrived, Ava was in the backyard hanging laundry when she saw Noah. He had found a soccer ball from somewhere and was kicking it against the garden wall by himself, with a precision that was striking for a 7-year-old. His feet moved on their own, like they knew something his mind wasn't ready to admit yet. Ava watched him without saying anything. 1 minute, 2, 3. The afternoon light hit him from the side, and Noah saw nothing but that ball. Then, without thinking too much, she said, "Hey, you're really good." Noah stopped the ball with his foot, looked at her. 1 second. "Don't get your hopes up," he said flatly, and picked up the ball. Walked inside. Ava stood there next to the laundry line, with those 5 words hanging in the air. Don't get your hopes up. A 7-year-old boy, repeating his father's words, like he had already learned that dreaming was dangerous. Her throat tightened, and she had to breathe slowly, and so he wouldn't see how much that had hurt her. The turning point came on a rainy afternoon. Noah was sitting on the couch in the playroom, not playing with anything, just watching the rain hit the window. Ava walked in quietly. She was carrying 2 mugs of hot chocolate. She set one on the side table next to him without saying a word, sat down on the couch across from him, picked up her own mug, and waited. 5 minutes. 6. 7. Noah picked up the mug, took a sip, paused. "It's good," he said. It wasn't much, but for Ava, it was everything. "Glad," she said simply. Silence. And then Noah, without turning away from the window, said, "Do you have any family?" Ava felt something shift in her chest. "I had my dad, but he died a few months ago." Noah turned and looked at her for the first time. Really looked, not sideways. "Do you miss him?" "Every single day." Silence. "I miss my mom," he said very quietly. "But my dad says I shouldn't think about it, that I have to be strong." Ava breathed slowly. "What do you think?" Noah frowned, like nobody had ever asked him that before, like nobody had ever asked what he thought about anything, that she never really left. Ava felt her eyes burn. "Why do you say that?" "Because sometimes, when I close my eyes, I can hear her voice." A pause. "She used to sing while she made breakfast, every single morning, and my dad would sneak up behind her and dance with her, and she'd laugh really loud." He swallowed. "There's no music in this house anymore." Ava couldn't answer right away. She had to wait, had to swallow something very large. "Noah, can I tell you something?" He nodded. "Your mom is still here." She pointed to his chest. "Right here. Every time you close your eyes and hear her singing, that's not just a memory, that's her, telling you she's with you, that she always will be." Noah looked at her steadily. For the first time, he didn't look like an old man trapped in a child's body. He looked like what he was, a 7-year-old boy who just needed someone to tell him he wasn't alone. That afternoon was the beginning. After that, something shifted. Not all at once, not dramatically, but Ava started noticing small things. That Noah no longer ate breakfast, staring at the table, but sometimes looked up and looked at her. That when he came home from school, he didn't go straight upstairs, but passed through the kitchen first, just to see what was there, just to be nearby. That one afternoon while she was sweeping the hallway, she heard music coming from the playroom. She peeked in slowly. Noah was dancing by himself, awkwardly, no rhythm, arms at impossible angles, but dancing. Ava smiled and walked away without saying a word. That moment wasn't hers to interrupt. It was hers to keep. One morning, Noah came down for breakfast and found the table set differently. There was a fruit plate with the watermelon cut into star shapes, and the pancakes were shaped like soccer balls. Noah stopped, stared at them, looked up at Ava. "It's not false hope," she said before he could speak. "It's just breakfast." Noah hesitated for a second, then he sat down and ate every single one. Noah's birthday arrived 3 weeks later. 8 years old, Ryan organized a party, one of those parties that looks perfect in photos and feels hollow from the inside. White tablecloths, catered food, flower arrangements nobody had chosen with any warmth, background music nobody listened to, guests who talked about markets, real estate, summer houses in the Hamptons. Nobody under 40, not a single classmate of Noah's, no balloons, no laughter, just protocol. Ryan moved through the guests in his charcoal suit, shaking every hand, making every polished comment, while somewhere at the back of his mind, something told him this was wrong, but he didn't know how to do it differently. He didn't know how to be different. Ava watched from a corner of the living room. She watched Noah sitting at a chair beside the main table, in the collared shirt his dad had put on him, hands folded in his lap, staring at the tablecloth, not touching the cake in front of him. 8 candles, still unlit. No wish made. Not one friend calling out happy birthday like they meant it. Just adults talking about things he didn't understand, at a party that was supposed to be for him, but where he was completely invisible. Something in Ava's chest gave out. She excused herself quietly, went to the kitchen. Dorothy, the housekeeper, looked up when she walked in. "What are you doing?" "Something," Ava said. "Mr. Callahan has everything under control." "Mr. Callahan has the party under control," Ava interrupted, calm. "But Noah is not okay." Dorothy looked at her for a moment, then stepped aside. 20 minutes later, Ava had made a bowl of chocolate truffles. Simple, no fancy presentation, just dark chocolate, cream, and butter. Made fast and made with care. She went upstairs to Noah's room, knocked softly. "Noah, it's me." Silence. "I have something." Footsteps. The door opened. Noah looked at her from inside with that usual expression of his, serious, guarded. "What is it? Come in and see." Noah came in, sat on the edge of the bed. Ava put the bowl between them. "Chocolate truffles, I made them." Noah took one, bit into it, and for the first time all night he smiled. A small smile, shy, real. Ava felt that moment was worth more than everything downstairs, more than the white tablecloths, more than the catered appetizers, infinitely more. They ate in silence for a moment. Then Noah said, without looking at her, "Ava, can I ask you something?" "Anything. Don't tell anyone. Promise." He hesitated, looked at the bowl. "The thing I want most right now," long pause, "isn't more stuff." Another pause. "It's a dog." He looked up at her. "One that's mine, that I take care of, that sleeps with me, that never goes away." His voice cracked a little. "Because I'd never let him go." Ava felt something close in her chest. "Then I'd have a real friend." She didn't cry, but she came close. A boy who had everything, asking for the simplest thing in the world, someone who wouldn't leave. That night, on her way back to her apartment in Coscob, Ava rode with Noah's words echoing in her head. Someone who won't go away. She pushed open the door to her building. The hallway smelled like the neighbors' cooking and old carpet, very far from the white tablecloths of Greenwich, but it was home, or it had been, as long as she could keep paying the rent. Her neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, was in the hallway with a cardboard box. "Ava, so glad I caught you. My dog just had puppies last week, 5 of them. Would you want one? If I don't place them this week, I'm taking them to the shelter." Ava stopped, looked at the box, stepped closer. Inside, 5 puppies sleeping. One of them lifted its head, looked straight at her and wagged its tail. Ava felt like the universe was speaking to her directly. She knew it was crazy. She knew her job depended on not doing exactly this. That if Ryan Callahan found out she had brought a dog into his house, he would send her away without a second thought. But she also knew that some things you don't think through, you just feel them. "I'll take one," she said. The next morning, Ava arrived at the Callahan house with her usual bag, but that morning, the bag was moving. She greeted Dorothy in the kitchen like nothing was different, went upstairs, knocked on Noah's door. "Come in," he said with that half-asleep Tuesday morning voice. Ava walked in, set the bag on the bed, opened it slowly, and a small cream-colored floppy-eared head poked out from the folds of fabric with two dark round eyes and a tongue already working. Noah sat up straight. The blanket fell to the floor. His eyes went wide enough to take up half his face. "What?" The puppy jumped toward him, licked his whole face, his nose, his eyes, his cheeks. Noah froze for exactly 1 second, and then burst out laughing. One of those laughs that comes from the stomach, that cannot be faked, that for more than 2 years had not been heard in that house. "Is he mine?" he asked, his eyes full of something Ava had never seen in them before. "Hope." "He's yours," Ava said, "but it's our secret. Deal?" Noah nodded with a seriousness so funny that Ava had to bite her lip. "What's his name?" "You decide." Noah looked at the puppy. The puppy looked at Noah, tilted his head to one side, and then Noah said very seriously, "Biscuit." Ava blinked. "Biscuit?" "Yeah, because he's warm and soft." The puppy licked his nose. "And he makes everything better." And from that day on, Biscuit was the biggest secret in the Callahan house. What followed was a perfect combination of tenderness, comedy, and several close calls that almost gave them away. Ava arrived every morning with Biscuit tucked inside the bag. The puppy had learned to stay still during the ride over, which, considering he was 8 weeks old and had the energy of a small tornado, was nothing short of miraculous. But inside the house, he was a completely different story. One Wednesday morning, Ryan was about to leave for work when he stopped by Noah's room. He knocked twice. "Noah, I'm heading out. Don't forget you have chess club this afternoon." "Okay, Dad." Ryan turned to go. And then he heard something. A small whine. Soft, high-pitched. A scratching sound from inside the closet. He stopped, frowned. What was that? Noah panicked. It lasted half a second, but it was enough for his 8-year-old brain to make the only decision available. He started coughing. An exaggerated, dramatic, completely unconvincing cough that would not have fooled anyone over 10 years old. "Nothing, Dad. I think I'm getting sick." Ryan looked at him. Right then, Ava appeared in the hallway with a tray. "Good morning, Mr. Callahan." A perfectly timed pause. "I brought Noah's breakfast up to his room. He seemed a little off this morning. I thought it'd be better if he ate here and rested a bit." Ryan looked at her, then at Noah. Noah coughed again. Ryan looked at both of them. For 3 seconds, that felt like 10. "If he gets worse, call the doctor." "Of course." And he left. His footsteps went down the stairs. The front door closed. The car pulled out of the driveway. Ava and Noah waited 5 full seconds. 5 seconds of complete silence, and then they exploded into silent laughter, the kind that shakes your whole body but makes almost no sound. Biscuit came bounding out of the closet, wagging his tail, and jumped on the bed like he also knew they had won. Dorothy found out 3 days later, not because they slipped up, but because Dorothy had been in that house for 15 years, and she was not naive. She found Ava in the laundry room on a Friday afternoon, crouched over the utility sink, rinsing out a small cloth. That smelled like disinfectant. Dorothy stopped in the doorway, looked at her. "How long do you think before he finds out?" Ava startled. "Dorothy, how long has it been going on?" Ava tried to brush it off. "I don't know what you're talking about." Dorothy crossed her arms. "I've been in this house 15 years. I know how to wash a child's clothes. I know how to wash juice-stained tablecloths. I know how to wash sheets after a nightmare." A pause. "Sir, and I know exactly what puppy accidents smell like." Ava closed her eyes. "Please, Dorothy, don't say anything to Mr. Callahan." The housekeeper sighed, a long sigh from someone making a decision they know they probably shouldn't make. "I'm not going to say anything." Pause. "Not because what you're doing is right." She looked at her directly. "But because in 2 years, this week was the first time I heard that boy laugh twice in the same day." Her voice wavered for just a moment. "Twice, Ava. In 2 years." She lowered her arms. "But you know your job is at risk, and I know you need it." Ava nodded, slowly. "I know." And she did, with a painful clarity. 3 months behind on rent, $42,000 at the bank, 2 maxed cards, a landlord who had already sent the 3rd notice. All of that weighed on her. But when she got to Noah's room and watched him rolling around on the floor with Biscuit tangled in the blanket, none of it mattered. Or, it mattered less. Or it mattered differently. Meanwhile, something else was happening in that house, something nobody named, but that Dorothy saw perfectly clearly from the kitchen. Ryan Callahan had started coming home earlier from work, not by much, 20 minutes, sometimes 30. And when he came home, instead of going straight upstairs to his office, he would linger for a moment in the living room, where he could almost always hear Ava's voice, talking to Noah, telling him stories. Laughing at something the boy said, Ryan didn't go in, he just stood in the hallway, just listened, and then went upstairs. One Thursday afternoon, Ava was in the backyard picking up Noah's lunchbox when Ryan arrived. She greeted him without stopping what she was doing. Ryan paused beside her. The school called today. Ava looked up. Is everything okay? The opposite. Pause. They said Noah's grades have gone up across the board, that he's been participating in class, that he's been playing with other kids at recess. Ava felt warmth spread through her chest. That's really wonderful to hear. Ryan nodded. I thought it was because of the academic support. That too, she said carefully. But more than anything, she hesitated. I think he just needed to feel like someone was there, that he wasn't by himself. Ryan looked at her. 1 second longer than necessary. 2. Thank you, he said quietly, and walked inside. Ava stayed in the yard, with her heart beating faster than it should have been, over a moment that shouldn't have affected her the way it did, but it had. A few days later, Ryan was coming up to grab a file Dorothy had left in the upstairs office when he passed by the laundry room and saw Ava, hunched over the sink, scrubbing something with full concentration, something that smelled like disinfectant. He looked in. Did Noah spill something? Ava startled visibly, so much that she dropped the cloth. She picked it up. No, sir, that was me. I spilled orange juice. I wasn't paying attention. It cost her to say it. You could see it on her face. Ryan looked at her for a moment, and then, without knowing quite why, he smiled, just a little, just enough for her to catch it. Thank you for being here, Ava. And he walked away. She stood there with wet hands over the sink, and her heart in her throat. That night, at her apartment, Ava was sitting on the bed with her bank statements spread across the blanket. The numbers weren't getting better. Her landlord had texted that afternoon. He needed all 3 months by Friday, or he was starting eviction proceedings. Ava closed her eyes. Biscuit climbed up on the bed, lay down beside her, put his head on her leg. She scratched him behind the ear. I think I'm losing my mind, Biscuit. The puppy looked at her. I can't let myself get attached to him. He's my employer. And if he finds out about you, she sighed. But when he looks at me, pause. I can't explain it. My heart does something I can't stop. Biscuit licked her hand. You're not helping at all, are you? The puppy wagged his tail, and Ava, despite everything, smiled. The day everything fell apart arrived without warning, the way those days always do. It was a Tuesday. Ryan had come home earlier than usual. There was something on his mind, a restlessness that had been building for days, and that afternoon had finally demanded his attention. He went straight upstairs to Noah's room. He wanted to talk to him. He wanted to say something he didn't quite know how to say yet, but that needed to come out. He knocked. No answer. He opened the door. The room was empty. He frowned. He heard voices on the balcony, laughter. He walked toward it. And then he stepped on something. Something wet. On the floor of the room. He looked down, frowned, and at that moment, the balcony door swung open. Noah came running in, carrying something in his arms, something cream-colored, floppy-eared, with its tongue hanging out. Ryan went still. Noah went still. They stared at each other. 1 eternal second. Biscuit looked at Ryan and wagged his tail. Ryan felt something inside him go cold, and something entirely different, ignite. But what came out first was the anger. What is that? Noah took a step back. Dad, let me explain. What is that, Noah? He repeated, with that ice-cold voice. Ava came in behind the boy. She saw Ryan's face, and she knew. Mr. Callahan, you. He looked at her. What exactly do you think you're doing? Who gave you that authority? Ryan, please just listen for 1 second. Don't call me that. Pause. I gave you clear instructions from day one, clear and specific. I trusted you with my son. His voice broke. Not from sadness, from something more complicated than that. Take your things and that animal and get out. Ava felt the floor disappear beneath her. Please, just let me explain. Noah needed... My son doesn't need you deciding what he needs. He crossed to the room, lifted Biscuit from Noah's arms. The puppy whimpered. Noah did too. "Dad, you're grounded." He handed Biscuit to Ava. She took him, eyes full. "Mr. Callahan, I only wanted him to be happy. Get out of my house." Ava left, with Biscuit pressed against her chest, tears falling silently, without another word, because there was nothing left to say. Ryan turned to Noah. The boy was sitting on the edge of the bed, looking at him, with eyes that weren't angry. That was something worse. Disappointed. Ryan walked out and closed the door. Downstairs, Dorothy was in the hallway. She had heard everything. Ryan looked at her. "Did you know?" The housekeeper didn't answer right away. Ryan took a step toward her. "Did you know or not?" Before Dorothy could open her mouth, Ava spoke from the front door. She already had her bag on her shoulder and Biscuit in her arms. "She didn't know anything. I brought the dog hidden in my bag every single day. Nobody else was involved." Ryan looked at her. Dorothy lowered her head. Ava opened the front door and left. The next morning, the house felt different. Not in appearance. Everything was the same. The furniture in the same places. The flowers Dorothy kept on the dining room table, but something was missing. Something neither of them could name. In the morning, Ryan went to Noah's room. "Get up. Time for school. We're interviewing a new nanny this afternoon." Noah didn't move, still in bed facing the wall. "Noah, why do you do that?" the boy said, without turning over. "Do what?" "Push away everyone who loves me." Ryan stopped. "Noah," first Margaret, now Ava. A pause. "When are you going to push Dorothy away too?" Ryan felt something press against his chest. "That's not what I'm doing. I'm protecting you." From what? Not a question. A statement that made no sense. Ryan opened his mouth, closed it. "Life hurts when you lose someone you love. You've already lived that. I don't want you to go through it again." Noah finally turned over and looked at him with those green eyes that were so much like Claire's. "Dad, it already hurts. Every single day it hurts." Pause. But with Ava and Biscuit, it hurt less. Ryan had no answer for that. He walked out of the room and stood in the hallway, hand still on the doorframe, with nowhere to go. The days that followed were grey. The new nanny was a woman of few words and many rules. Punctual, efficient, correct, and completely disconnected from the boy she was supposed to care for. Noah went back to eating with his eyes on the table, back to going straight upstairs after school, back to the silence. Dorothy brought him chocolate one afternoon. She knocked softly. "Noah, I brought you something." She went in. The boy was lying on his bed, staring at the ceiling. She put the chocolate on the nightstand, sat on the edge of the bed. "I know you're sad," she said. Noah didn't answer. "Ava and I used to sneak chocolate when your dad wasn't around." That made him turn. He looked at her. Dorothy nodded. "I brought you some." Noah sat up, picked up the chocolate, held it in his hands without eating it. "Dorothy, why does my dad do that?" She looked at him. "Do what?" "Not let me love anyone. Not let me be happy." The housekeeper chose her words. "Because he lost someone he loved too. And it hurt so much that he's terrified of you going through the same thing." Pause. "Parents don't always get it right, Noah, but that doesn't mean they don't love you." She leaned in and kissed him on the top of his head. Noah sat quietly for a moment, then asked very softly, "Do you think Biscuit is okay?" Dorothy felt something move inside her. "I think so." "And Ava?" A longer pause. "That one I don't know, sweetheart." In his office, that same afternoon, Ryan was staring at the screen. The same numbers, the same emails, but he couldn't concentrate. He looked up. There was a photo on the bookshelf, in a silver frame. Claire, smiling, with Noah in her arms. A newborn. Ryan stood up slowly. He picked it up, held it with both hands. And for the first time in a long time, he actually looked at it. "I failed you," he said quietly. "That night I tried to react, and I lost everything." His eyes went bright. "And then I tried to protect Noah the same way." He shook his head. "By shutting him down, turning him off, thinking that if he didn't dream, he wouldn't suffer." He swallowed. "But I only pushed him further away." His voice broke. "Am I doing the right thing, Claire?" Silence. The office in silence. The town outside. The rain that had started without him noticing, but something in him, for the first time in 2 years, shifted, and he made a decision. He closed his laptop and went downstairs. Noah's room was quiet. Ryan knocked. Nothing. He opened the door. The bed was made. The room empty. He frowned. "Noah?" He checked the bathroom, the playroom, the balcony. Nothing. He went downstairs. "Dorothy, The housekeeper came out drying her hands. "Sir? Where's Noah?" "In his room. Last time I checked he was—" They looked at each other. Ryan went back upstairs, this time slower, this time actually looking. On Noah's pillow, there was a folded piece of paper, a child's uneven handwriting, but the words were perfectly clear. "Dad, I don't agree with you. You teach me to be strong, but being strong doesn't mean letting go of what you love. I'm going to go get what's mine. I love you even when you make me mad. Noah." Ryan felt the air leave his body. He ran. Outside it was raining. The streets of the neighborhood were dark and wet. Ryan ran without knowing where to go, calling his son's name, with fear splitting him open, and at some point, running through the rain with his clothes soaked through, he stopped at a curb, breathing hard, eyes closed, and in that strange quiet that rain sometimes carries, he heard something, not with his ears, with something deeper, Claire's voice. "You're losing him, Ryan." He opened his eyes. "I know," he said out loud, not caring that no one was there. "I know, and I don't know how to fix it." The rain kept falling. I'm scared. I'm scared of letting them in and losing everything again." Pause. "But I'm losing them anyway." And then he heard a bark. At Ava's apartment in Coscob, Biscuit had been restless for 10 minutes, running back and forth, scratching at the door, whining. Ava watched him from the couch with the bank statements still on her lap, her landlord's text still on the screen. "What's wrong? Do you need to go out?" Biscuit scratched the door again. Ava got up, picked him up, opened the apartment door, and before she could register what was happening, Biscuit jumped from her arms and bolted down the hallway. "Biscuit!" She ran after him, down the stairs, out into the street in the rain, without an umbrella, without a jacket. "Biscuit, stop!" The puppy ran, straight, certain, like he knew exactly where he was going. Noah had been lost for 20 minutes. The wet streets all looked the same. His left foot hurt. He had slipped on a curb and fallen on his knees. He was cold. He was scared. A tear fell. Just one. And then he heard something. A bark. He looked up and saw a small cream-colored shape running toward him at full speed. "Biscuit!" The puppy reached him and jumped up, licked his whole face, his hands, his scraped knees. Noah held him with both arms. And for the first time that night, he felt less alone. "How did you find me?" he whispered. Biscuit wagged his tail, and that was when he heard his name. Noah, his dad, running toward him, soaking wet, with his eyes wide open, in a way Noah hadn't seen in years. Ryan reached him and dropped to his knees on the wet curb. He grabbed Noah by the shoulders, looked him over. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" "My foot, but I'm okay." Ryan pulled him into a hug, a real one, the kind that squeezes, that doesn't want to let go. Noah felt his dad's chest moving and realized he was crying. His dad, crying. "Forgive me," Ryan said, his voice broken. "Forgive me, Noah. I wanted to protect you, and I only hurt you." Noah hugged him tighter. "I love you too, Dad, even when you're mad at me." Ryan let out a laugh through the tears, and Biscuit, wedged between the two of them, barked, like he wanted in on it too. Ryan looked at the puppy. Biscuit looked back. Fand wagged his tail. "Hey, Biscuit," he said softly. That was when they heard footsteps. "Noah!" Ava came running, soaked, out of breath. She stopped when she saw the two of them together on the curb, put her hand over her heart. "Thank God." Ryan stood up. He looked at her, and something in his face was different, completely different. "Ava." She looked at him. "I'm sorry," he said. "I'm sorry for the way I treated you. You fought for my son when I wasn't doing it myself. And instead of thanking you," he shook his head, "I hurt you." Ava felt her eyes burn. "Mr. Callahan, I just—" "Ryan," he said, stopping her. Pause. She looked at him, and Noah, watching everything from the curb with Biscuit in his lap, said with the quiet certainty that children sometimes have, "Dad, Ava is my best friend, and Biscuit is my best friend." He looked at both of them. "I love them both, and I want them both in my life." Ryan looked at his son, then at Ava. "I want you to be happy, Noah." Pause. "Both of you are coming home." That night, Noah bathed, ate, and was asleep in under 10 minutes, with Biscuit curled up in the curve of his knees. Ava turned off the light slowly, stood in the doorway a moment, both of them sleeping, both of them at peace. She smiled, and pulled the door shut softly. She went downstairs. The house was quiet. Ryan was in the living room, sitting in the armchair by the lamp, with a cup of coffee he hadn't touched. Ava came in. "He's out, both of them." Ryan nodded. "Sit down," he said. She hesitated, then sat in the chair across from him. She was wearing a borrowed flannel shirt of his and a pair of sweatpants. They were too big, but she was dry. Silence. A silence that didn't press. For the first time in that house, a silence that just was. "How long have you been on your own?" Ryan asked. "Since my dad died. 8 months. No one else?" "No. He was everything I had." Ryan nodded slowly. "And the money situation. Is that why this job mattered so much?" Ava paused, and then decided there was no point in hiding things anymore. 3 months behind on rent, a bank debt, 2 maxed credit cards. Ryan listened without interrupting. "When you let me go, it wasn't just the job." She looked down. "I almost lost my apartment." Silence. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because it wasn't your problem. It was mine." Ryan looked at her. "And Biscuit, you knew exactly what you were risking. Why did you do it?" Ava looked up. "Because Noah told me the one thing he wanted most in the world," pause, "was a friend who would never leave." Ryan closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, something in them was different. "He's exactly like his mother," he said very quietly. "Tell me about her," said Ava. And it was the first time that Ryan talked about Claire without his voice breaking on the first sentence. He talked about how they met, about how she sang while she cooked, about how she danced in the kitchen with Noah in her arms, about the night at the restaurant, the shot, the hospital, the 2 years of building walls where there should have been doors. Ava listened to all of it, without interrupting, and when he finished, she said, "You didn't fail her, Ryan." He looked at her. "You tried to protect her. You got it wrong, but the love behind it was never wrong." Ryan didn't answer right away. "How do you do that?" he said finally. "Do what?" "See the good in things." Ava shrugged. "Because I lost someone too, and I learned that if I kept staring at what was gone, pause, I'd miss what was right in front of me." Ryan looked at her. A long moment, silent, and then he stood up. "It's late. Stay tonight. There's a guest room at the end of Noah's hallway." Ava nodded. She stood up too. "Thank you. I'll get your clothes back to you tomorrow. Don't worry about it." She turned toward the stairs, and then she heard his voice. "Ava." She stopped. She turned. Ryan was standing by the armchair, hands in his pockets, with that way he had of standing that was still serious, but was no longer cold. "I meant it tonight when I said I want Noah to be happy." Pause. "And I meant it when I said I'm ready to be happy too." Another silence. "You're the person who put that back in me." Ava felt the floor shift beneath her. "I don't want you to come back to this house as an employee." Their eyes met. "I want you to come back as my wife." The world stopped. Ava opened her mouth, closed it. Her eyes filled. And then, from upstairs, came a small bark. They both looked up. Biscuit was peering through the banister rails, tail going like crazy, and both of them laughed at exactly the same moment. Ava wiped her eyes and nodded, without words. But Ryan understood. 3 months later, life in the Callahan house was different. There was music in the mornings. Ava sang while she made breakfast, and Ryan sometimes would come into the kitchen and put his hands on her shoulders from behind. And Noah watched from the table, with that quiet smile of someone who knows the world has gone back to being okay. Biscuit slept in Noah's room. He had his own bed with his name embroidered on it, which he ignored completely, in favor of climbing into Noah's bed in the middle of the night. Ava's debt was cleared, the Coscob apartment given up, and she no longer arrived at that house as an employee. She arrived as what she was, part of that family. One Saturday morning, Ryan took Noah to his first session at the Tri-State Youth Soccer Academy. Ava came with them, and Biscuit stuck his head out the car window the entire drive, ears back, tongue out. On the field, Noah ran at the ball with everything he had. He fell twice, he got up twice, and on the third try, he scored. He spun around to look at the stands. Ryan was on his feet, clapping, shouting his son's name in that voice he used to save for boardrooms, eyes bright. Ava was beside him, with Biscuit in her arms, and the two of them looked at each other, without needing to say a thing, because some things don't need words, they just need the courage to not let go of what matters, even when it hurts, even when it scares you, even when it costs you everything. What would you rate this story from 0 to 10? Your opinion means the world to us and helps us keep creating stories that reach your heart. Drop your rating in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the next one.